What am I in today? I'm in something pretty nice. And I gotta say, confess rather, well, I used to sell BMWs. So the fact that I'm in a 2018 M4 for the first time on the Tuesday test drive, well, I'm just a little bit excited. Funny story, when I picked up the car, thanks again to my friend Pat over at Humberview Motorsports, in the candy store that he is in, we're going to have a sweltering weekend, 30 degrees, and he's got several open top cars to choose from. How good must the car drive if of all the cars you get to choose in that showroom at Humberview Motorsports, of all the cars you get to choose from, you pick the one with the carbon roof on the nicest weekend that we're going to have this summer. If that doesn't say anything about the drive in the car, I don't know what does. Fit and finish on every BMW is always really great. If you are driving an M car, a BMW, a Mercedes even as well, those cars you spend a little bit more money on, quite a lot more maybe than some other brands, you get a certain amount of engineering many times that just is invisible. Like if you're driving this car in the rain, there is no water on the side window because of the way the car is engineered to get rid of water. The way the car is engineered to allow air to surround the body. That's why you see the fairings underneath the car, the fairings at the front of the car. On a car like an M4, an M3, an M5, the Ferrari we did here not that long ago, the 599, you're looking at these features on the cars, these little mouths at the front of the car and these holes or these openings at the rear of the cars, and you just kind of assume they're there for fashion reasons. But on a car like this, they're not. Everything on this car does something. Yeah, some of it's fashion, but most of it is actually engineering when you take a closer look. But as I get into it in the car here, I'm on the highway right now and I'm just heading back to the dealership, and you know, this is where this car loves to be. It loves to be on the highway. It's definitely a highway car, and although inside there's so much luxury in it and so much appointment and so much of everything, you really get a little bit of both with this vehicle, and a little bit of both by having a grand touring car and something that's a very, very serious sports car all at the same time. I mean, the turn-in on this car is exceptional. It's so nice and it's so tight. As I hit the brakes and kind of come into the set of lights here, the car all of a sudden is back to quote-unquote normal. It's now quiet again. The air conditioning is on. The car feels great. I can feel every seam in the road on this car, I can tell you that much. But much like any other BMW, and the reason why I really enjoyed selling them is because they just make sense. Everything, every panel, every stitch, everything in this car seems to be engineered in some way, shape, or form. And the one thing that I can't help but notice each and every single time I get into a lot of German vehicles, but mostly BMW, is their seating position. The seating position on the car is perfect. And I've actually driven a bunch of cars this week, different sedans, coupes, even SUVs. And this is the most comfortable car I have been in. And if you can see from this angle here, I got a lot of room. And as someone who's 6'2" in their socks, that says a lot for not a very big vehicle. This is a BMW M4 Coupe, and immediately sitting in this car, all the blind spotting and the blind spotting you get from being in a really low car is completely lost. Like, this car has a wonderful greenhouse, and I think that's a lot thanks in part to, well, that kink at the back window. I believe they still refer to it, or maybe they don't, and I'm showing my age, a Hofmeister kink. A Hofmeister kink. Well, what that is just that sort of elliptical sort of loop that comes around on the back of the window, and that little loop gives you that additional space that you need in the rear of the car to make this coupe feel much bigger than it actually is. And it certainly does feel that way, I gotta say. It does feel really great inside this interior. There's lots of room in the interior, of course, but at the same time, it's really, really well appointed. And this particular M4 has a carbon surfacing on the interior here on the center console, and here on the dashboard, what we have is more carbon fiber, and we'll see more carbon fiber in other parts of this car because carbon is, well, it's a thing. You know, this is really just adding interior. Is it going to make this car lighter or any more sporty? I don't really believe so in my own personal opinion. What makes this car sporty is this engine. This engine and this transmission. This transmission is phenomenal. And what is really incredible is the thrust you get right after it engages the gear. I'm not really pushing it at the moment, but when I get a second, I really will for sure. It does sound pretty nice. Right now I'm in third gear. I'm doing about 4,500 RPM. We're just going to just... What a lovely sound. It sounds so great. And that little overrun right there. The brakes. BMWs have always had excellent brakes. Over-braked, over-rotored. And I love it because this car will do exactly what you tell it to do. I mean, exactly what you tell it to do. There are no surprises in this. And that's why people love these M cars so much, is you can feel like a champ. And these cars, the other thing about these cars is they were always sort of motorsport related. That's where the M came from. A little bit of history about the M product. M stands for motorsport. Now a lot of people will say they probably use that M logo a little bit too much, and well, someone who was selling BMWs 20 years ago till now, yeah, they definitely use the M logo kind of wherever they want, and they do throw it around quite a bit. But that said, the M logo aside, they are the benchmark, and they are the benchmark for a lot of different reasons. And one of those reasons is just the sheer pleasure of driving these cars. They do such a great job of virtually everything. When I sold BMWs, I used to say something like, with an M5 or with an M3, you kind of get the best of both worlds. Now, BMW is known for the sports sedan, and they made some wonderful sports sedans over the years, and this is a coupe. There's something about the look of a coupe, without having those extra doors and those swooshing lines, and in this particular car, I think the side view, I think every angle on this vehicle is absolutely gorgeous. I think it's a great looking car, and one of the things that BMW does a great job of, with the increased pricing that you get on an M car, which has a lot of extra bells and whistles, particularly for the track that not a lot of people end up using. However, if you do want to go on a track with this car, you are completely fine to go on that track and enjoy yourself. And I would probably say to anybody buying an M car, if you don't ever even consider going on a test track with your car, you know, in good circumstances, not to put the car across the wall, I think you're really missing out on owning an M car and actually not using it for, well, what it was built for, which is quite a lot of driving performance. And yeah, definitely a vehicle anyone should check out, especially if they want something that's, you know, really, really quite phenomenal. And this car is definitely that. I mean, unreal. Just love it.
One thing I can tell you is you gotta be free.